Hey everyone, it's Jenna Melanson from Canadian Beats Media. I'm here with Adam Bentley from Auteur Research in Hamilton, Ontario, for our first interview in the new series, Inside the Industry. Welcome, Adam.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jenna.
So it's just going to ask a series of questions to help musicians know what a publicist does.
Cool. Yeah, fire away. I'll do my best.
Okay. So first off, can you tell when and why you started Auteur Research?
So Auteur was started in 2009. I like to say by accident because it really was. I was in a band, a seven-piece monstrosity called The Rest, and I was getting press for the project. And I remember I was studio managing at Catherine North Studios in Hamilton, and Dan Aiken, who owned the studio, said, "Hey, why wouldn't you do that for other people?" And I said, "I don't know what I'm doing." He says, "You got like hundreds of pieces of press on your album. Like you would probably just do the same thing for other people." And I thought, I guess I can try it out. And I first worked with Amanda Zelina, who now goes by Red Rosamond, and she was working with Dan, and they had a record, and I went out and pushed it out in the world the same way I would push my own music, and it went well. And then from there, other people found out I was doing it and started approaching me, and I probably didn't think it was really going to be my day job. I never had any big grand ideas about it, but then maybe around 2012, I kind of went, well, this is all you kind of do. You sit at a computer and you email people and you get press and set up interviews, and that at that point I started thinking, okay, maybe I should expand this and start bringing on other people. And every year the company's grown a little bit. There's 10 of us right now that work on the team, and we've grown into not just doing online press, but we also do digital marketing. So we're running advertisements on various social media platforms. We do project management for some of our clients that have, often larger teams that need to be coordinated. And all of those things just happen again by accident. Like somebody asked me about, hey, I'm doing this new project on my own. I don't have a manager anymore. I don't have a label. Do you think you can help me organize this? And I thought, oh, that'll be cool. And it was a lot of fun for us.
Awesome. And
a few team members really, really enjoyed that. And I thought, well, maybe there's other opportunities here. And quickly it grew into something we were doing quite regularly. And ads was very similar. It was a few long-term clients had mentioned, could you do ads? Like we're behind these ad companies, but they don't usually do music. And they don't seem to know that much about music. And I thought, okay, this could be interesting to do as a case study. And then quickly we go down the rabbit hole and bring on a consultant to teach us things. And again, I wasn't going to do that outside of maybe a few long-term clients. And then we started having people ask it. Hey, I heard from so-and-so you're doing that.
Okay.
And I think that's just how the company works. As long as, I've never solicited, I've never gone out looking for these jobs. It's been always word of mouth. And as long as that keeps happening, I think we'll grow in those areas.
When do you recommend a band or artist look into getting a publicist?
A traditional publicist and doing like a publicity campaign where maybe you're looking for radio or TV or print, you need a foundation online already to do that. But for what we do, when we're first going out, and we're working with new music sites like yourself and bloggers that are very open to new music, as long as you're very organized and you have really good music, I think you can get into that world and build a foundation fairly quickly. Organization and planning, though, seems like a minor thing, but it's a major thing. Having enough content to be able to push on your socials, so it's augmenting the work we're doing, is really important. And if you're not ready to put in that time commitment yourself, hiring a publicist is probably not a great idea. You still have to do a lot on your own.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess, is there any specific things that they should have prepared in advance? Like you said, have a foundation, but what specifically?
So the first thing we normally do if we're going to work with somebody is we send them a Google Doc. It's like a checklist of everything you're going to need. And I want to have that before, at least a week before we even start working on the project. So those are things like biographical information. It doesn't have to be a professional bio, but it does have to outline kind of your story and trajectory. We'll often ask questions to pull out a quote about the song, but if you have that information yourself, that's great. And you already know what you wanted this song narrative to be distilled online. That's great. Photos, art, downloads, lyrics, production credits, ISRC codes, your goals. We always want to know your goals, social media links. Also, maybe if you have done this before on your own, what have you been able to accomplish? What are those anecdotal pieces of information that might separate you from the pack? I like to say that, I'm sending you a pitch and I want to have a really strong narrative. I want to have a really good visual aesthetic and great music, but you need all three of those things to catch, a writer or an editor's eye or a playlister in many cases.
Yeah.
And everybody likes different pieces of information too. And that's on us to know what's going to work for your site and what's going to work for somebody else's site. What
can you do for an artist that they can't do for themselves?
I think it's a combination of we're extremely well researched. It's in the name. So we have a great database and knowledge about what type of features are being run at a site. When should we hit them up? When in an artist's career is it going to be best to hit them up? When to follow up with somebody? And it's also the relationships. I'm sending you a message, and I hope you feel this way, that you're more likely to open it up because there's going to be some quality to it. Not everything that's sent to me, I go, yeah, I'll work this. It's actually a small percentage that I say yes to. And because of that, I think we build up a rapport with our contacts. And it takes a lot of time to do this efficiently and effectively. We have I think a pretty amazing system that tries to be as transparent as possible. So the artist is along for the ride, and I pride myself, and I think the team does as well, on our communication skills. And we have education that we can, also display as we're going along, giving you artists best practices so they know what they need to do as well. I definitely think the artist should be very proactive in trying to do as much as they can. There's a lot of music that's hitting people's inboxes. We want to be smart about, coordinating if there is any doubling up, but I think there's often doubling up now, just so people go, oh, this is a priority. This is something that's
Perfect. So you talked about social media. How important is it today? And should they have every social media, or is there certain ones that are preferred?
Right. I think in an ideal scenario, first, massively important, like incredibly important, never been more important. You have things like TikTok, which is probably the best music discovery platform on the planet right now, probably the best music discovery platform since MySpace, if not better, might be better. There's probably an argument for both sides of that, but we don't really need to talk about MySpace. But TikTok, is really, really important, and it's aged up. I think, it's not just for teens and tweens anymore. It's for everybody. There's niches for everything. So being on there is important. If somebody doesn't feel comfortable, then maybe you don't do it. I don't want to force people to go outside of their honest and authentic voice, but putting a foot out of your comfort zone is often not a bad idea as well. You have to do things that you don't necessarily want to do to expand your audience and your reach, but you still want to make sure you're doing it in a way that feels right, and you're not, oh, there's a dance going on TikTok right now, I should probably just do the dance because that's the thing that, that's not, people are going to see through that. That's not going to register with them. It's about making connections on these social platforms. Instagram is often the one I would say artists are most comfortable with, in my experience. but reels are the big thing on there. That's how you get to cold audiences. So it's similar. The content you're making for TikTok, you make for reels. It can be the same or it can be slightly adjusted. But doing those, it gives you the best chance to get outside of your audience, and then being consistent doing these things as much as you can. If you think you can make 2 videos a week, make 2 videos a week, do them at the exact same time. Build up that kind of consistency that people are going to expect that. Now, we're in an age where twice a week is kind of low. Every day is kind of more what these platforms want, and that can be difficult. So sometimes you have to pick and choose. I find that Twitter is a great platform for press people, for industry people, for in real time sort of conversations, things that are happening in the moment, almost like your news feed as an artist. That one can be tricky, but I think if you can have that one and at least tell people what's going on in your world, that can be very important. And Facebook, well, Facebook's not really an everyday platform for, I would say, 95% of artists anymore. It just doesn't really work that way algorithmically. I think being on there and being able to utilize that back end, that's when it can, the data you can build from Facebook and then use on Instagram is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And still, some people prefer that. So if you can be in all these places and schedule and plan out when you're going to post to not overwhelm yourself, I go by the 80-20 rule. Try to build 80% of your content before you even launch. Because once you've launched, and if you try to build everything in real time, it's almost impossible. Unless you're one of these zeitgeist sort of people that are really in the moment, you're always online, super online. You're probably not going to be able to keep up. And by the time you are kind of prepared, your song cycle's over and you should be starting the next one.
Yeah. Okay. So lastly, what makes Auteur research stand out from the crowd?
I think I don't know anybody that quite has the combination of campaign types that we do. I think my introduction into this world was a little bit irregular. And because of that, I didn't know a publicist, for instance, was supposed to work Canada. Didn't know that was a thing, really.
Okay.
So I just worked anybody that was writing about music online. I saw it as the internet. And instead of building things by location, I built them by taste and tried to connect that way. And I think that's still how we view things. We have Canadian and US team members. That's also, I think, fairly unique for a Canadian company to have people in the States that are working on projects. But I like to say that if we were all in Denmark, it would be very, very similar. Where the artist comes from is definitely important, but where we are is not the deciding factor of where press is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you'd like to get out there?
I think that this is a great snapshot, of what you need to do and prepare. And I think that's the biggest thing I'm pushing with artists now. It's unbelievable the amount of content that is required to run successful campaigns now. It used to be someone would give me a song link, give me 2 lines, and then I would build something out of that. And maybe I'd have a photo. That was it. That was good. It didn't matter. And I wasn't going to hit up people multiple times during a campaign to make sure they've seen something. It was I'll send one email, we'll see how that goes. And that was it. And now there's all these other touch points. You need all these levels of repetition to really cut through. Because, you were saying you got 100 average, maybe, and on a Friday, a lot more than that. I hear from a lot of, publications, 200 to 500 is pretty regular. For you, it's supposed to be at least only Canada, right? You're covering.
Yeah.
So think about all the songs that are being released. You got 60, 70,000 songs being uploaded to streaming platforms every day. So how do you cut through and how do you make your release special? Well, there's all of these components, and you could be a unicorn and release your music online and it just takes off. That's almost no one that happens to. Most people, it's brick by brick. It's the house analogy. You're building your foundation, you're building up your basement, and then maybe next time you'll be able to put on like the first level. Maybe it's a marathon. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, it's been nice chatting with you, and thank you for being my first interview.
Thanks for inviting me and letting me be the first on this hopefully ongoing series, because I'd love to. Personally, I love learning. I love embracing the chaos that is the music industry and finding new ways of doing things. So I'll definitely be checking these out. That's for sure.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks again, Jenna.
Okay.